Hello and welcome to our place in Sicily. And if we haven't met before, it's nice to meet you. I'm Jenn Mason, and along with my husband Matt Mason, we are trying to renovate this 31 room abandoned palazzo. We're on the slopes of Mount Etna. We're one of the Mount Etna towns. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about design and working with a team on design, and maybe show you a little bit what I'm mulling over in our kitchen area. Today I'm standing in the garden of our palazzo, and I'm standing in an interesting spot. It's hard to see if I look that direction, but if we turn around, you should be able to see over my shoulder here is the sea. And a lot of what we're doing in the palazzo is to make sure we have a good view out there, but also we're trying to tie in this newer construction, and by newer construction, 80-year-old construction with 150 plus year construction, and what we're thinking about and how I'm working with Architect Igor Gripaldi, also SC Works, and Stefano, the builder, and as well as Jennifer Bertrand, our interior designer and life coach. She keeps me sane. And so today you're going to get to see some of the pictures, some renderings, some things we're thinking about, and what it's like to work with an architect and these other creative people. And I think we should start with, because I think this is the best example, a look at what this behind area, what we imagine it to be, and quite frankly, what Igor Gripaldi, our architect, imagined it could be, because that starts to tell the whole story for our house. So Igor has worked very hard to think of ways to tie these two in. Now, we could have done the easy but complicated thing and try to make this newer construction look like the older construction, but that sort of disregarded a whole history. And I think what Igor has done is found an interesting way to match these two things together. For example, the way he's using some of the different features here to look like, we'll use paint, but to make it look like aged metal, that will sort of tie it in. Think of it as a Venn diagram of the old and the new, and what things in that center overlap can we use on both pieces and make them work together. And I think the genius idea was to take down, there was a bridge that connected these two, the new and the old, and we've taken that down. And we've taken that down for a number of reasons. And I'm going to turn this around because you don't need to keep looking at me. Let's look at the beautiful palazzo, which is in a rough shape, of course. Like I said, we took a bridge off here that connected this terrace with the terrace that we're going to access out the room that will be our bedroom. So it's essentially a private bedroom terrace. And part of the reason we decided to do that was because it was low, it was in bad shape, so it would have needed to be remade. But it was also very low, and we didn't want to build a step up to make it like a bridge, like a rounded bridge. And it really opened up the space and gave us sort of the centerpiece for Igor's design. Around these windows, he's creating another element that gives us sort of that Venn diagram overlap that'll tie the two constructions together. And what we've decided is what we do on this side is not necessarily what we do on the newer side, but we make sure that we remain consistent on whatever side we are. Ooh, stepping on some garbage. So for example, these two arched areas, we are going to, and we can show you this in the rendering too, we're going to create and open this section back up because this was originally arched. So we're going to open up two arches here, and that's going to be our sort of indoor outdoor room, but we're echoing these arches, which are also used here, and they're used on our doors. But we're not using arches over there because there weren't arches over there in the more recent version of it. So why am I telling you all this? Basically because when you work with an architect, you could just be asking them, hey, could you help design a bathroom in this basement space? Or could you help me make an addition onto a house? But in this case, and the reason we went with Igor is because we wanted to renovate this house that came from many places. And what we wanted was for Igor to create, essentially, I think of it as a work of art, but I'm a creative. I studied art. I am an artist. But of course, this house needs to work for us. And then there are parts that go beyond the architect's role, like, what color pillows do you want to put on the couch? And how do you make the kitchen cabinets functional for you? How do you make the structure that your architect designs work for you? And so that's what we're keeping in mind at all times, because we have hired our architect in this particular case, and we understand this is a very special case, to create basically a piece of art for his portfolio. And we need to keep that in mind. And when we go inside and we talk about the kitchen today, that will make a little more sense. So let's head into the house and discuss how we're going to tie in that kitchen and the thinking we're making there. Well, I'm not actually in the kitchen at all. Where I am is the living room. And we're going to start by pointing out some of the additions, the thinking, what's going to make this house representative of our architect. And one of the things we're going to do is open up a good portion of this wall so we can go into and out of the family room. So if we had a big party, this has a more modern feel to it, even though we're in the old frescoed rooms. And then behind us is where we're going to put our cube room, basically a square room that is only going to go up to where the decorative ceiling starts so that we can save that and still create, we needed a bathroom up here, what we call a powder room. I haven't figured out what they call it here in Italy. I know somebody smart is going to put that in the comments and tell us, but let's take a look at the rendering we have. I'm going to move over to this corner because I believe that's sort of where the rendering comes from, of this space. And what Matt and I love about this is that this is not how we've ever seen a room done. We've never had coved ceilings that come down and meet and sort of rest on top of another interior room in the center. It also gives us the opportunity to create a jewel box of a little powder room, something special. And I love little bathrooms because you can splurge on really, really interesting things that you couldn't afford on a bigger scale. So I'm looking forward to working on that. So this is one of the places where we're really leaning heavy and expecting this to represent what it's like to have entrusted our architect, Igor, with this project. Let's go look at sort of another cube. We're calling these the cubes. We've got another one in our bedroom. Now, we can't fully take you into the bedroom because it doesn't have a floor. It has scaffolding around while we are working to strengthen these walls. This is how they get the heavy stuff up, guys. And we have this beautiful painted ceiling here. And this makes it really easy to see. And we have this beautiful ceiling painted here. And you can see where those both sort of curve down. So this, right underneath here, is where we're going to add, I guess you'd say, a third room. It's going to be a cube-shaped square, even on all the sides. And part of it will be, half of it will be in the bedroom, and will contain our closet. And we'll have a wall that becomes our headboard wall. And part of it will be in the bathroom and will contain a little toilet room, a walk-in shower, and a couple vanities and a custom-made bathtub that will look up at the angels in the ceiling. And you can see from the renders, we'll sort of show you all of these. And we're still working on the actual materials we want to use, because they still need to say me. And that's where Jennifer Bertrand, our designer, comes in and helps me really think about all the things you need to think about as far as materials. And then we bring it back to Igor and say, which of these is feasible? Which of these stays on point for your design? Because these all work for me. So that is a good part of how we're doing this. Now, in this particular house, I would say what really defines this space right now are the major key points, even though Igor is touching every square inch of this, but it's this room, which is the main bedroom and bathroom, the living room, which is the room we were just in, which is going to be on the other side of this. You can see where those red lines are. That's where we're going to open this up, right into the living room. And it's going to have a giant sliding door. So sort of that opening, and then into that cube we were just discussing. We're just going to walk around that cube, which will be in both this entryway hallway and half of it in the living room. And then, so that's the main living space. But then what we're talking about also is the kitchen. So those are sort of the high points, at least in our house. Oh, and I shouldn't forget also how we're tying in the back garden and palazzo, which we started this whole video on. And this is up high looking down to where we were standing. So that's how we put and make sure Igor is fully represented here. But also things like his interesting idea that he knows that Jen and I don't know because of us being in essentially his backyard here. So this wall we uncovered and seeing how it was structured, and we've decided we're going to keep this. This is rows of lava stone and brick, and it's just beautiful. We're going to clean up different areas like this, and then we can seal it and it stays clean, and we'll be able to do that for these two main walls in our dining room. And we're also putting in floor to ceiling windows, so this really takes advantage of that beautiful view while you're sitting here at the dining room table eating. And again, that's something that Igor brings. So, as I mentioned before while we were outside, I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're doing in the kitchen. And honestly, we don't know what we're doing in the kitchen, but we know it cannot be finalized until it works for me. It feels like part of Igor's plan, and Jen, our designer, helps me understand what works for me and how we solve colors and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm making this whole video today because I'm hoping to get your input. But first I have to explain where you are. So I can show you the overhead of this, the floor plan. And I basically see this as sort of the kitchen and dining wing of the house. Just 3 rooms, but it's easy for us to think about it like that. And the dining room has a doorway that's not going to be closed, and hopefully we're going to actually open that doorway up almost at least a half a meter, maybe close to a meter. So this opening is going to get a little wider if it's possible. And so that's the dining room. This room here we're in has a coved kitchen, has a nice ceiling, but that ceiling's coming out because it's cracked and because we're going to connect these 2 rooms. So let me show you a little bit about what this looked like. So I'm facing the dining room. Behind me is a beautiful little balcony. To the left were 2 different built-in pantries. They were deep. This wall is essentially deep that connects us to the working kitchen, but there is not a structural wall. So that's all able to come down. And then if I go this way, this goes into a bedroom. So we're going to close this up because nobody wants to walk into the kitchen from their bedroom. And I think we're going to build a little bar, drink coffee area here in that really great space. The lovely thing about having 24-inch deep walls is that you have found space, found square footage, which is great. Okay. So again, dining room, out to the street balcony, and then this is the wall we're taking down. And let's see if I can actually walk backwards so you don't have to rethink things. And if I fall, I'm going to leave it in. And this takes us into what was a good working kitchen. And you can tell it was a working kitchen for quite a while. I'm going to try to open up some of these doors to give us a little more light. There we go. And now that we're in here, I'm going to flip this around again. I hope I'm not making you dizzy, to let you see better without my big head in the way. Okay, so there is our oven, and you can watch some videos of me. You can see there's all different levels of finish on this. I've been working on scraping this, and then eventually they need it in here, so I stopped working on it. It's got some protective cardboard on it, but it goes up to a water boiler, and then there's a flue chimney that took that out. I'm going to show you a picture of what it looked like from this angle before, because we also had a laundry room in this corner. That's the exit to our little side terrace, and there was a bathroom in this corner. Note the toilet still in the corner. And then there was a wall to both of those. So this looks different. So let's take a look at this picture. Now you can see it had a beautiful arched ceiling, which I was really looking forward to painting a mural of some sort in. But then when we decided to combine the 2 sort of kitchen rooms, we decided we were going to take that down because we're going to tie the 2 rooms together. Okay, so let's come back to the real kitchen here. That's now, so this is staying. How it's staying, what it's staying, we're not absolutely positive, but there's a lot of brass on this, and it's just important for you to know, because what we've decided is, and none of this was all painted. Everything that looks brass on here, I uncovered when I used the paint stripper. So there's a ton of brass, and can't really see, but it has a brass rod on it. So we're going to polish and clean that up, and that goes the whole length. Now this is a little low to be a countertop, and it's definitely not usable. It would need to be rebuilt. So when we take off this cardboard, there is still the cast iron top, but we're going to put a nice thick butcher block top on that, and that'll be usable space. And we're trying to get all of these little sections in here cleaned up, and I would like to either tile inside them or have somebody make like a little wood box to slip inside them so that we can use these for storage. But what we're going to do is use some of the decorative elements from this in the rest of our design. So that's the idea I have so far. What I need to do is work with Jen and decide how we want this room. When we take down this wall, when we redo the ceiling, we're going to be able to have one big creative shaped ceiling. How do we want this to work? Also, we still need a laundry room in here. So do we do a simple laundry with a little skirt hidden in like a regular old European kitchen? Do we put it in a tiny room? Do we put it on this side? And when you're inside it, you look out to the garden? Or do we save this window for a sink so you can do dishes looking out to the garden? And do we put it back in this corner and use the window looking out to the street? It's super handy that right here is a little, what I've been calling this whole time, a little laundry terrace. It's a small little terrace. You don't really see it from the rest. And out there you can see Calabria, Taormina, Casamola. Wow, you can really see, I don't know if you guys can, but I can really see Calabria today. So do we not want to block this with laundry? What do we want to do with laundry? How do we want this to match up, and how do we want to use this room? So these two walls are coming down, or essentially this wall is coming down, these two sides, and then we have this whole space. I want a big island. I would like to be able to host wine tastings around an island, or chef demos, or Sunday suppers, or cooking classes, or a cooking retreat. This is secondary to the fact that I want to live here, though. So, you know, it's got to work for me most of the time. And we're hoping to possibly take advantage of sharing this house with big groups when we go into the US, and having a company help us do sort of like a luxury rental. So they could bring in a chef, they could bring in a chef to do classes, or wine tastings, or all sorts of things. But if this house could sleep 12 to 14, it would be important that we could do cooking classes for 12 to 14. So I'm going to show you the floor plan again here, and show you sort of what we're thinking, what kinds of things we could do. And this is where we want your input. If you were going to come visit us, or you had a group that wanted to borrow the house, how would you want... Sorry, I can hear motorbikes outside. How would you want to use this space? How would you want it to connect here with this dining room? Let's do a full walkthrough from this side. So these will all be doors. Each one of these windows will be a door outside. So it'll feel like you're outside. There'll be the exposed stone on those walls. And these two walls will have most likely a mural painted, a landscape of what you actually see if you were to look out through those walls, which is Mount Etna. Okay, and to the left through that is our reception area. We don't intend on having a door on that, and a head will be slightly opened, and we don't intend on having a door on this either. So you could come in to here, possibly the little bar in this door niche to the bedroom we're going to shut. Do we put tall cabinets on the back? When you take down this wall, just on the other side of the wall is the old cabinet. And by the way, I love cabinets. I'm going to end this with some examples of the things that are in my inspiration to let you understand where I'm taking this. so that you can give me some feedback, okay? So then we go through where this wall is. So let me back up here. Do we put a big island in here? How many people can we fit around it? How many people do you want to fit? How much space do you want? If it's just like a stand up and watch a cooking class. We want some display space of things behind glass, and we have to fit a laundry room. And what I'm thinking is this corner, or a laundry space. These are all the things I need to do so that we can go to the next steps. And those next steps are basically giving the architect our homework. This is what's most important in the space. This is what I definitely don't want in this space. This is what I definitely do want in the space. And we've already agreed that he's not having to plan out every single cabinet and what's going inside. Jen and I will do that. We'll take care of the color. But he needs to start by giving us the Igor Gripaldi vision that's going to tie into the rest of the house architecturally, because he's the architect. And then we'll blend what we're going to have done through the whole house. Our colorways, we're looking at, Jen and I are trying to, not like change colors and making it look like a weird rainbow of indecision. But we've got to make that list of priorities for Igor so that this can fully be realized as his project. It also has to be fully realized as my house, Matt's and my house, and I won't be happy unless it also represents our designer. And what's great about our designer is that we have very similar tastes. And so every time she gives me one idea, I usually take it. And when she gives me 3 ideas, then I get stuck and I can't make a decision because they're always great. But that's the fun part of a project like this. And so I just wanted to record this today. I'm going to end with some additional inspiration pictures and some voiceover about what I like about all of them. And I'd really like to know, look at the floor plan, pause it on there. How would you do it? I know some of you have done other kitchen designs and have these really cool things that we should consider, and I'd like to hear them. Our next step after this video and hearing from you is to actually get on a Zoom call with Igor, the architect, with Jen, the designer, and with our friend, Chef Michelle Ragusis, who we hope will come out here and not just come cook in our kitchen and not just relax by our pool, but also maybe if we're lucky, we'll get her to host a cooking retreat. She's Greek and Italian, and she also does ceramics, and we're going to have a ceramic studio, so I can't wait for that. But we're going to get on a call, and she's going to help us think about what we would need in the space as well, from a professional point of view, and then we still have to, again, make it work for me. So, and I say me, but I mean us. But Matt just is not the main chef in this. This is not where he's most excited about. So he's happy to go along with whatever I want, because I know he knows I'll make it work for him too. So watch this next section with my inspiration to give you sort of things to consider, and then please give us feedback. Or if you have a friend who dabbles in design or just did a kitchen, please share this video with them. I am not kidding. I want feedback. You can say nice things like, ooh, it's going to be fun, or ooh, you're brave, because I like to see those too, because that keeps me going. But what I really want to know is what would you definitely do, definitely not do? What would you love to do if this was your space? So watch on, and then we'll close out the video. All right, so here is my list, my small list of inspirational photos I have, the two on the left-hand side are actually from when we went to Salone del Mobile, which is the big kitchen and furniture show in Milan this spring. And I don't know if it's the beautiful woodwork, if it's the color of the cabinets, or the fantastic stone, but this little setup really made me happy. So I'm trying to figure out some ways to use this as our inspiration. And then the middle two pictures you can see are glass. There's a lot of glass in here. Actually, there's a lot of glass in all of the other four photos. But I'm definitely thinking I want glass, not for pantry because I can't keep my food neat and clean, but more for beautiful platters, trays, bowls, glasses, glassware, stuff like that. And then also the other two pictures really are representational of me wanting to do maybe a big color drenching in this area. So knowing those preferences I have, what would you add to the list? So it seems fitting to end where we started, but above, this is where the old bridge was. It's now no longer there. We're looking over my shoulder into the bedroom terrace, and let's take you out to the sea from behind. I look forward to seeing all your comments this week, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. And if you like this kind of behind the scenes, what are we thinking? Please let us know that as well. Have a great one, and ciao, ciao.